Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Stover, Director of Reader Services for the Kansas City Public Library. Welcome to tonight's virtual special event with veteran White House correspondent April Ryan. Ms. Ryan flourishes in an award-studded career reporting on urban issues in the White House. You've seen her provide in-depth political analysis on CNN and also on news network The Griot TV, where she has been their Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief since January. Previously, April Ryan was a correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks. April has been nominated for multiple NAACP Image Awards and received a Freedom of the Press Award from the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, Journalist of the Year from the National Association of Black Journalists, and the She Persisted Award from the Women's Media Center. She has written 3 books, and we can look for a 4th, Black Women Will Save the World, next year.
That's right.
You reporters have seen and participated in the vast changes in journalism that April Ryan has seen in the last 25 years. And if April had fallen in love with jazz more than journalism, the world would be without one of its finest reporters today. College student at Morgan State University, April spun jazz tunes on WEAA in Baltimore on Sunday nights. Please welcome April Ryan.
Hello there. That is so sweet. I loved your introduction. Thank you so much. And it's great to be in a library, although virtually.
You were telling me that you love libraries. Do you have a library story you want to share with us before we?
You know, I have a bunch of library stories. It's not sexy, but it's, you know, it's something that, you know, I found and I still find in my life, libraries are needed. You know, I'm that kid who used to go to the library and have to look through the card catalog and the microfiche, you know, and my mother used to always say when we couldn't find anything, just go look it up, go to the library. Now the kids have it so easy. All they have to do is Google it. They don't remember the card. We had to learn how to use the card catalog in school, how to go through the microfiche. But it's nothing like going through a library to see all the books of wisdom, adventure, mystery, etc. And I missed that over the years. We were that family who stayed home for the whole year. So we were that family. If we could have wrapped ourselves in saran wrap, we would have. But no, we were that family that stayed home. And one of the greatest pieces was the fact that my kids loved reading. It took them away. It was an escape. And a lot of their books, we are a house with books all over the place. So we are firm readers of books, not just mine, but we love books. And my kids, I used to take them. The library for us was a touchstone. My kids, they would have little activities for the children growing up. My kids, we're just a library family. So I gotta give it up to the Baltimore library system, the main library, Enoch Pratt, and so I can go on and on. I'm big library, so.
It's so good to hear that. And yeah, I have friends who work at Enoch Pratt. It's a great library.
Isn't it? The main library downtown.
Yes. Those folks understand pop culture and popular reading. Yeah. So April, can you take us back to the moment you decided not to become a jazz DJ and chose journalism instead?
I love music. I love music. I adore music. I adore jazz. I love all genres of music. I love classical. I even love country. I worked at a country station years ago. We're not going to go into that. But I love R&B. I love some rap. I love all genres of music. And I love jazz. I was in college and it was accessible to me to be on the air, the radio station at Morgan State University. But it was something that was in my heart that I didn't know that was in my heart. There was a yearning to do news. It's, you know, I'm a radio girl. And I can still drop, you know, some little words over a song. Hi, it's April Ryan with Sade. Is this a crime on WEAA FM? You know, I can still throw that voice. You know, I can still be the DJ. But I wanted more than time and temp and the quick wit. I fell back on producing at WEA. I was a jazz DJ between classes on Fridays and Sunday nights, late Sunday nights. But there was a news program that needed a producer. I said, I can do it. And I did it. And it just opened up so many doors for me doing that. And I kind of fell back into what I loved from the very beginning. And I didn't realize I loved it as much because it was home for me. In my home, my parents would listen to the radio the first thing in the morning, AM radio, that transistor amp, you'd hear that in the morning. We don't hear that anymore. Well, if you still listen to AM, they would get all the time, Tim, the news. If you could have called my parents news junkies back then, that was the word for them. They would watch Walter Cronkite at night. That's the way it was every night. There was a ritual in my home with news. And I didn't realize that I loved that more than DJing. So I fell into my passion, and I didn't know it until I started producing. I said, wow, it was everything for me.
Was the White House press corps always on your radar as a career goal?
No, never, ever. I've got college classmates say, oh, you always said you wanted to be a White House correspondent. I'm like, you are a liar, because I did not say that. I aspired to be in Washington, but I never aspired to the White House. I never aspired to Capitol Hill. Washington was that shiny city on the hill, just down the road from us, down 95, where everything was happening. And I never imagined I would be in the White House. And my mother and father, before they died, they said, we knew you'd go to DC. We didn't know you'd go like this. So, and I never ever dreamt being a White House correspondent. But when I was in college, people said, oh yes, we knew, because you said. I didn't say that. That was not my dream. But they used to always call me Oprah too. April, the word April and Oprah, I guess, kind of linked together in a certain way or have a certain ring. But Oprah was also in Baltimore at the time when I was growing up. Yep, she was working. I've never known a world without Oprah Winfrey. She was working at Channel 13 in Baltimore. She was doing the news, and she did a talk show with a man named Richard Sher, People Are Talking. So I guess people, in school, I was always that one that was always running out to do events, do radio, what have you. And so they used to call me Oprah. And then so when I went to the White House, I guess they put all this together. So, you always wanted, that's not what I wanted to do. But it goes to your saying, be ready, because you never know what life has in store. Never imagined it. And look where I am now, 24 years, a whole handful of presidents, 5.
I was going to ask you about that. You reported on 5 presidents. Starting with President Clinton. And isn't this your 25th year? You're going into your 25th year.
Going into my 25th year. This is 24 years going into my 25th year. Never imagined this. I'm that girl who likes stability. My mother was on a job for 42 and a half years until her death. I come from stability and never imagined it. During COVID, a lot of things, during COVID, we all took reflections on where am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? And I made a couple of changes. Because I said, when you come face to face with death and life-altering situations, you say, what I want and what I don't want. And at 54 this year, I said, it's time for a change. I want to continue to do what I'm doing, but I want to do it in a different vein where more people could see and hear, because I believe the stakes are so high and the topics are so huge and so meaty that they need to be told more, so they need to be heard. And, I thank God for the boutique agency that I was with, but I said I need to go a little bit higher. And I think, a lot of people are seeing and hearing more so my work at the Credo.
Did you, through those 5 administrations and almost a quarter of a century with the press corps, I really shouldn't put it like that. I shouldn't say century, should I?
No, look, let me tell you something. There are a lot of people who didn't make it, and I'm thankful for every day, every year. I mean, I remember being 17. I remember like it was yesterday at WEA, but I was like 17 when I started school. I'll be 54 this year. I'm thankful for those years in between. I'm thankful because I'm thankful.
What are some of the most surprising changes that you've seen regarding the press corps during those administrations? Positive or negative changes?
There are a couple of changes. There's one that's really nuanced, but it's very intriguing. And there's another one that It's just the change of, I believe, the internet age. The first one, the nuance piece, and forgive my dog. I don't know what my children are doing with the dog if you hear a dog in the background. I remember going into the White House during the Clinton years and second term of Bill Clinton. He wasn't necessarily on the internet that much. And that was a time we had those big brick phones, flip phones, whatever. And flip phones, not the Blackberries and things. And then we went to the Bush years. I mean, during the Clinton years, we would get information from the White House on paper. And I used to always say, they're killing a lot of trees to put out all this massive numbers of material and papers. During the Bush years, after 9/11, things changed. Communication changed. I'll never forget, we were still getting paper and we were kind of moving into emails more from the White House, but typically you would get the rundown, everything on paper. 9/11 happened. People couldn't communicate with one another. And the only people who could communicate with each other, because all the systems were shut down, people who had BlackBerry who could text each other. Remember that? The system changed at the White House. We left paper, we started going email, and we started texting, all of that stuff. So the systems changed. The times made the systems change. And now we are totally technologically information-based. And then when you had President Obama come in, you had a president who started kind of using the internet, using social media to get his message out. He knew that it was a direct way that he could just talk directly to the people versus using his spokesperson. Then we had Donald John Trump, basically everything that he wanted, he just put it out there. He didn't need his press office. And now, we're still seeing that. We're not seeing it as much. I don't know if President Biden does it himself or not, but he doesn't drop the news through social media like the past president did, and even Barack Obama. But those are the nuanced things, how technology has moved with the times at the White House. And then let's talk about the press corps itself. There was a time when you didn't know who was Democrat, who was Republican. It was just straight down the middle. Now, you have news agencies that are all over the place. And it's different. And it's very different. You have liberal, you have conservative, you have in the middle, you have whatever, everyone, I'm not gonna say everyone, but a large community of the newsroom community at the White House has changed. It's not reflective of what it used to be when it first started.
Do you think it's a better change? Do you think we would do better as news consumers if things rolled back a little bit?
You're a good questioner, you know that? You followed up on that good meat. That was some good meat. So it's for better and for worse. And I say that in all honesty, in my humble opinion, as someone who's considered one of the deans of the press corps. I say for better because you have to remember, this nation is not one thought. This nation is built on people who come from various backgrounds, who think differently, who are critical thinkers, who some may go along with what a government leader says, another may not. Others just say, I don't want to be a part of this process. We have people in that room that reflect all different kinds of thoughts, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And therein is the positive, and therein also lies the negative. So I miss the days of Walter Cronkite. That's the way it was. It's not, and because the liberals said this and because the conservatives said that. If we could just get the facts and then make our own opinion through our own critical thinking. And now what's happening, the line has been obscured between fact and opinion so much so. And I tell people always, look for the facts and then get the opinion. You got to know the basis and the foundation of the story first before you start listening to other people and what they think. Get the facts first.
Do you think it's harder these days for journalists to separate themselves from the job? How did you do it when you found yourself the subject of the story one or two times?
One or two times? Okay.
That must be
at some point, because believe it or not, I mean, we're supposed to fade into the background and be like the people who are just overseeing and looking and writing it down for you and then give it back to you. Now we're brought into the story, and it's hard to cover a story when you are part of the story. And it was awful. It was awful so much so I couldn't go to rallies because I don't want to be a part of the story. And other reasons. But it was hard. I want to go into a room and just write the story and be as, blend into the wallpaper as much as I can. So I can tell the story in all ways, from all sides. It's not just two sides, it's all sides. As many sides as we can get. But it's harder to cover when you are part of the story because you want to be afforded some anonymity to go in and write something, come out and say, this is what I saw in that room. Now it's like, oh, she said this, and that's how it happened. Like, that's not how it's too much, it's a lot. But at the end of the day, I now have to understand that I've been through what I've been through and it was real. I am who I am and that's real. And all of those things I bring to the table, the truth, the integrity, the honesty of my reporting. And, it's interesting. My reports on the griot are different in some respects to what I say on CNN because I am asked for my opinion on CNN versus as a journalist, I'm writing what I see and bringing the knowledge of history. And a lot of times when I write, I get the opposing side, I get the side that may be kind of how I would say, or maybe someone else would say. So when I write a story, I get all sides and that kind of covers how I feel in a certain extent. I don't have to put my opinion in there. And it's not looking for my opinion, it's looking for the facts of the moment. When I'm on CNN, you ask me a question, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what I think.
That draws me to my next question, because there are some times when I feel it's so hard for me to trust some journalists and some news sources, or why does it feel so hard for journalists and news sources to build trust among readers, viewers, listeners these days? It feels like it's harder now than it used to be, building trust.
And it's sad. Let me start off with this. We work hard. I mean, journalists who studied the craft, journalists who really care about disseminating information that you need to carry on your life. It's hard to see people spin or lie about things when you know that's not the truth. Why is it this way? It's because we are now a nation that's trying to find itself. We are a nation that's divided. We are going through colliding crises. People are trying to claw out of despair, and they need something to soothe their soul. They also need truth. And unfortunately, sometimes there are organizations that play upon the money-making factor of entertainment as well as lies. And it's not just one network. It could be a couple of other, it could be newspapers. There are a couple, and I'm not going to say any names, but we are in perilous times and we have to tell the truth. You've got people trying to figure out, do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask to save your life? You got people saying, do I get a vaccination or do I not get a vaccination? Because I heard this was happening to the people who took this one, and then I heard this. We are in a time where our lives depend on truth. Can't play with this. And yes, we have rights. We do the stories on rights, and we also do the stories on those who want to live. We bring all the stories together, but when you spin it to make money, when you spin it at the detriment of someone's life, there is a problem. We are there to give information, to help you. As a White House correspondent, I'm the first line of questioning the American president. I take that seriously. That is an awesome responsibility to give you the information of what's happening today, tomorrow, and yesterday, and what's happening down the road in the future, the long view that the presidents like to take.
It sounds like you set me up for this next question. April, do you ever find yourself frustrated with the media? And how do you handle it if you do?
Yes, and yes. How do I handle it? I don't watch or I turn it off. I'm serious. I don't watch some things because I have to keep my sanity because I know it's a lie. And I don't understand. But I also have to say that there's a different mindset from different organizations and different people. Some of it is entertainment, some of it is to generate dollars for the organization. But then there's also some moments where it's genuinely people are not on the same page as things, they're not on the same page on certain issues. But I get that. But then other times when I see it's about making money and spinning a lie I turn it off. And I don't even pick up the paper. I don't even look at the tweet or the Instagram. I am learning how to protect my mind and my sanity and my health and my being by not watching or reading or listening.
That's good. I hear that from a lot of my friends as well. And I think I was chatting about it with
self-care. It's self-care. Yeah, because a lot of people's pressure, there are a lot of people in the hospital over the last couple of years.
What should people know about journalists and their work that we don't know? And what can we do to be better news consumers?
To be better news consumers, you have to understand that one, the onus now lies on you to get facts, because again, the line between fact and opinion has been obscured. But with that said, what you should know about journalists, we're your neighbor, we're your niece, we're your cousin, we're your child's classmate's mom or dad. We're people just like you. And we understand, the vast majority of us who really believe in this, understand that we are in this to give information that is needed to help with pocketbook issues, to help, on any issue there is, we are there giving you information. Yes, sometimes we do get it wrong, but we correct it. Good journalists correct it. They'll put a correction in or say a correction or explain a correction. But I'm gonna give you, I've given this example before, but we get it right when you see us live, showing you things that are happening live. There are receipts, accountability right there. You tune into us to find out, the weather's gonna be bad. Yeah, I know you got the weather bug app, but sometimes you want to watch the weather girl or the weatherman tell you specifically in what time it's going to happen. You watch us when there is January 6th. You watch us when there is greatness in the land and when there's trouble in the land. So understand that we work hard to get it right. And there are times that we don't, but we correct it. And we are there again for the people, it's not about us, it's about the people.
That's a good note on which to have a look at all the questions that are popping up in the chat here.
So I just want to let you know, we just saw there's a troll. Hi, troll. There's a troll in the chat. So
okay, you're watching too. So
yeah, I just saw it. Hi, troll. Nice to meet you. Bye.
Okay, so we've got.
Wait a minute. Let me go. Let me see. Well, let me see. I don't like reading the little troll chats, but let me see. I don't even know if I can get in the chat. Let me see. No, I can't. I can't get in the chat. So sorry, troll. I don't even see your chat.
Here's one. Here's there's a question here. Oh, there's a little bit of conversation going on. So here's one. We have a viewer who's telling us how much he admires your profession of faith to straight reporting, but to what degree do today's outlets, broadcast or print, push reporters to inject personality for the sake of ratings or clicks?
I can't speak to anyone else. Okay, like you said, I started out in radio and I worked in personality radio. So I am true to who I am. I don't know, and this is just me. I don't know about other people. I can't say, but I can say for me, I am who I am, and what you see is what you see. But I don't know. I just don't know. I've never been told, turn it on. I've never been told, turn it off. I've been told, ask the questions that are not asked. Ask the questions about a community that's underserved, that still needs answers from the highest office in the land. Those are the things that I've been told. I wasn't told to turn it up or turn it down. And when you saw some of that rub in the briefing room, that was me. That was honestly me. It wasn't somebody told me to go and act. You know, I don't know if someone told that person on the other side that did that to me to go act, but I know I was being me.
And delivering the news as objectively as you could, as you do, because you rely on the facts. Are these some of the challenges that journalism is facing today? I mean, just one of the many.
Journalism is facing a lot of problems, issues of credibility, issues of integrity, also issues just, we've had people beat us down. Why? They like to, that's a whole nother conversation, but we're going through a lot because there were people who did not want us reporting certain things. And why is that? We are a democracy. We're not Russia. We're not China. We're not supposed to be jailing people because we write stories. This is an open society. This is a democracy. And when you ask a question and you are told that you're the enemy of people, that is a problem. But the erosion happens with those comments. And there's already an issue, but the erosion just of those words, it almost cripples the industry. And now we're trying to build back from that.
Do you think we can roll back from some of the great challenges that journalism has suffered in the last several years?
I hate the fact that I'm going to say what I'm going to say to you, but it's the truth. When you lose ground, a lot of times you don't get it back.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid of that too, because you have to think about this. The founding fathers put in place freedom of the press and the First Amendment, not the second or the third, for a reason. When checks and balances don't work out, he has reporters there to ask questions as one of those pieces of accountability. And the unfortunate thing is a lot of people don't understand civics, don't understand that reporters have a right under the Constitution to ask presidents or any government official those questions. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And I think it's not just, I think we need to actually go back to the basics in this nation. We need to teach people civics so we can understand the processes in this nation. why reporters are there, why they are allowed to ask these questions, why this and that happens in government, why this is allowed to happen around and in government. I don't think we understand. And I think a lot of that is the problem. Many of us do not understand the role that government plays, the role that press plays. I don't think a lot of people understand the three branches of government to a certain extent. And I think that's some of the reason too. That's my personal opinion that January 6th happened, because a lot of people just don't understand the processes.
This is an awful lot to work with and do a job at the same time. All this
compartmentalize. You put them in different places.
you described a lot of work-related stress, and then I'm also thinking about the work you do. So, can you tell us a little bit about why you transitioned out of the White House Press Corps and over to,
Oh, no, I'm still in the White House Press Corps.
You're still part. Why did you change over to the Griot TV? That's
again, because I was working for a boutique organization that wasn't as committed to the news as they were before. They had gone through some changes, and I said, okay. And when I started 24 years ago, there was a commitment to news, and there was a newsroom, and things changed over time. So I changed.
And it's it's a good change.
It's an excellent change.
That is so good to hear.
But I'm still at the White House.
What kind of changes have you seen aside from the technology one? Are there any other, I guess, oddball popular changes that we would be interested in knowing? Something really different that looks different today than it did when you first stepped in when Clinton was in office?
Well, the briefing room changed during the Bush years. You know what? The change now, and this is crazy. The change now is, for a year, I think it was like March 9th March 9th of last year, that was my last press brief. And I said, I'm not going back because of COVID, because too many people were coming in and out. And I said, I'm one of those people who have underlying issues. And I said, And I came back and I watched how it was broken apart so to be COVID compliant. And now we're all sitting together again. And I'm like, oh. And I told my producer, I said, well, should we wear a mask or should we say it's over now? You're not wearing a mask. That has changed. How do we handle emergent issues that affect the nation now? And we're still in that emergent issue. That's the big change. I mean, there was one time we were dealing with possibilities of some kind of attack on the White House, we'd have all these, you remember the pop, it looked like the popcorn gas mask bags that many of the leaders had on January 6th. We have some of those in the basement as well. And or in the White House in the briefing room, and those have been there for years. But now it's not just that. Now it's the next issue is how do you safeguard against this invisible thing, this virus that's coming. And that is an ever-present issue. How do the protocols that we have to take? So it's interesting. There are a lot of changes. We're a reactionary society, so we react to what's happening. And that has been definitely interesting. But I'm going to tell you, you wonder when you're sitting next to people, it's like, am I going to be safe asking this question without a mask on? You just wonder, even though Dr. Fauci could be in the room, you're like, am I okay? Did this person get vaccinated? You just wonder. And the vast majority of us are vaccinated, so.
That's good. That's good.
I shouldn't be telling all that. I shouldn't be telling all that, but I can say I'm vaccinated. I did a vaccination journey, Johnson & Johnson. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccination 2 days after it was delivered. And I was okay. I had a hard bout with the side effects, but I'm good. Yeah.
That's the story I heard, that it was the side effects.
Yeah.
We had someone who has a pretty pointed question. Do you think that the right to ask the commander-in-chief questions changed after 9/11?
No, I think they got a little bit more intense because at that time it was the worst terrorist attack in this land. Um, they were more serious. They were more determined. I mean, we had Oklahoma City before, and then we had 9/11. Now I'm talking about the terrorism that people recognize as terrorism, because we've had other terrorism like, what happened in Tulsa, and we're just finding out about that. But I'm talking about Oklahoma City. That was a time when the president was determined, and so were the reporters. 9/11 was a time when the president was determined, and so were reporters. Reporters were determined to get the answers. The president was determined to give what he could give to calm the nation, but yet assure that we're going to have retaliation. And that was a time we went into war as well. We began the war. So in Afghanistan, so Iraq and Afghanistan. So it was a time of determination on all sides, reporters as well as the president. And I think in times of emergent issues, especially with that hidden variable that comes in like a thud and you don't know, there is a determination to find out immediately what's happening. What do you know? When did you know it? How did this happen? And disseminate it to the American public and the world even.
That's a nice segue into this next question from a viewer. When it's contentious between the president and the press, when it reaches a point that it did during the past administration, is there ever consideration of walking out of a briefing?
You know what? There was a lot of conversation out in the streets in the world about, I wouldn't go back, I wouldn't do this, but you know what? And I kept saying, and I think we were all in unison on this, the press corps. Why would we leave when our sole job is to give you information? What happens if we're not in the room where it happens? That was a reference to you Hamilton fans. What would happen if we weren't in that room asking questions? I know there was anger outside from some groups and joy, leaps of joy by others. But if we left that room, what would happen? You wouldn't get your answers. And guess what? We may have lost ground and we may not be able to go back in. Once again, when you lose ground, you don't gain it back. So that was a tense situation. But we chose to stay, and I think we did the right thing. The best thing to do is to continue to do your job and to ask the questions.
You mentioned losing ground, and I've just been thinking about that because I think you're right. It's so hard to gain lost ground. Can we build a foundation for new ground? So do you think the field of journalism can move past the tumultuous last several years to something more?
It depends. It depends on the events that happen. It depends on who leads. It depends on their mindset. It depends on what they think about the press. There's so many things this hinges on. But we have to continue to do our job as a free and fair press in the United States of America. We just have to keep moving. And it said something if we didn't go back in that room. Some of us, there's a thought we'd be viewed as cowards because we didn't stand up to keep going. It's saying something if I would have left the room. She's a coward, she can't stand it. She can't stand it. It's not about me. It's about a community that's underserved that needs answers to questions. It's about the American public who deserves answers to those questions too. And it's about the body of journalism that has been going on for centuries that needs to continue. So there is a fight in front of you that you see, but there's also that fight that we are doing internally to keep moving. That's the fight that only the journalists know about, you don't see. But there are stumbling blocks, there are constant obstacles. Maybe in some administrations they're different than others, but we continue to press forward. We continue to press forward for answers. And sometimes those questions actually change dynamics. They put issues on the table that the White House may not have been thinking about, or they could help push an idea or item forward. That questioning is so very important.
You all do so much work that I feel as a reader, viewer, news consumer, I should be doing a little more work too. And is there something, what can we do to be better as consumers?
Critical thinking, and going around getting more information, getting the facts first, then getting opinions. Sometimes we get lazy and we say, okay, I like him and I'm going to agree with what he says. Challenge the idea sometimes and see for yourself, does this work? And sometimes we don't want to dig that hard. You hear some people say, oh, I don't get into politics, because sometimes it seems very cerebral, too cerebral. It's too many thus, thou art, wherefore, thereas. But now I'm hearing more people speak in everyday language for you to understand what's going on. The simpler it is, the better. Is people understand the issue of policing. They understand the issue of weeding out bad policing. They may not understand all about climate change and all the nuances of carbon footprint and coal, renewable energy, this, that, and the other. They may not understand the dynamic of Bitcoin versus the dollar, but I can tell you they understand about the issue of policing. They understand about going to the polls. The closer it is to you, the more you care to. Politics is personal. And I think we need to once again use critical thinking in making decisions after listening to a story or an opinion. We need to do a little bit more critical thinking. So I'm putting a lot of the onus back on the reader, the viewer, the listener.
Thank you. I'm willing to do that work.
Okay.
To read and gather as much more as we possibly can. I'm watching our time as closely as we can, April. So I'm just going to close with something kind of fun for you. You mentioned your teens. So are your teen daughters at the age now where they keep telling you what's cool and what's not and what to read, watch, and listen to?
Yes. Yes. Some of the news stories are like, why is everyone talking about this? Well, Mom, that's from such and such a show. I said, oh, I mean, it could be from dancing. It could be to a TikTok. There's a crazy TikTok now with the backyardigans. When they were kids, they were, your backyard friends, the backyardigans. And we were doing, I was like, this is a cartoon song. I'm like, so they keep me hip and fresh. And they'll tell me, oh, no, Mommy, you can't say that. You can't do that. But they're cool. They are so much fun. And it's good to have them around. My oldest is getting ready to go to college and I'm gonna miss her. But I'm text her and ask her what's cool. And the 13-year-old, she knows everything. She's running the world. So
you can take her to work with you.
Yeah.
So what are you binging, podcast listening to? What book is on the nightstand?
Okay, which books? I got books all over the place. I just recently went back over some of that long book of Barack Obama's Promised Land. Chapter 11 really got to me at the beginning when he talked about the conversation with Rahm Emanuel, his senior advisor at the time, or chief of staff. Rahm Emanuel said, when you become president, it's like a car driving off the lot. As soon as you become president, your presidency depreciates. I said, oh my God. Yes, Rahm Emanuel said that's chapter 11. My favorite thing right now, it's a guilty pleasure. I'm like everyone, well, I'm not gonna say everyone, but during COVID, it was stressful. I went through I went through panic attacks, and I did the COVID-20 as well. My face is a little rounder, so I'm trying to take it off. I'm working out with my trainer, but my favorite thing I found out through Tiffany Haddish, the comedian. We are supposed to be accountability partners now. It's called Supernatural Fitness. It's these things, yeah, it's an Oculus. You put the virtual thing on your face and you're in different places and you just whack it's a lot of cardio. You whack you use this wand. It is crazy. I love it. And you can meditate. You see me doing this like I'm doing a dance. It's like my kids laugh at me and they say I look crazy when I'm doing it, but I tell you what, I'm sweating the pounds and inches off. So that's my guilty pleasure right now. I binge watch horror movies. I don't know why. I need something mindless. Yes, horror movies. It's got to be a good horror movie. If it's boring, I'm just like, it's got to be either a funny movie or a horror movie. I need mindless things because I'm doing so much work-wise. I like mindless things. So yeah.
COVID did that to a lot of us. Brought on a lot of wonderful mindless entertainment.
And the cicada watch here in the area.
Definitely number one.
Yeah, the cicadas are crazy. We're doing the cicada watch. My child picks them up. They're leaving now. They're not as bad as they were, but they're the ugliest, most god-awful creatures. They're underground for 17 years and come out the ground to leave their shell. It covers the eyes, and then they mate, and then they eat, and then they die. Something is wrong with that picture.
Maybe for them it's a vacation.
Yeah, the vacation of death. Okay. The vacation of sex and death. Okay.
Well, April, I know you had another engagement, so thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This has been a delight and a pleasure.
I hope so. It has been wonderful. I love libraries. Again, it's that thing that started with me as a child and is here now with me and it's going to continue. I love my local library. Guys, support your local libraries. It is so important. If we don't have books, our minds are gone. Thank you. I support this library. Support your local libraries, guys.
Thank you so much, April. And good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everyone.